Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the Hunter Report. Yes, we are bringing this back. This has been done 3 years ago, but now we are bringing this back. Now, what is the Hunter Report? Well, let me tell you. It is an interview where we bring someone from the CAW land and we ask him questions, the hard-hitting questions where we get facts, where we learn about the behind the character, behind the scenes. And I am your host, Yoshi, aka Dino, aka Josh, aka Yuri K. Huntron, and with me is Shadow Dakari, aka Lyam, aka William Parker. Say something, my friend.
You know, I could have probably introduced myself, you know, I'm a grown man.
No, you're not in this town. And now, for a returning show like this, there's only one person that we thought of that would make this returning thing really great. You know, it's very nice since this man recently returned back to the world of CAW. In fact, not only he just came back as a competitor, but he also came back with his own show known as Supremacy World Wrestling. And now, let me tell you something about this man before I even say his name, but you probably guess who it is already. He is the man that faced Ace Whistler in a ladder match at the most recent live spectacular of SWW, known as Dead Man's Hand. And in that match, it was not only for the United States champion, but it was also for the rights of the leadership for the once great faction known as Gen Y. And this man, oh boy, was that match great. This man just pretty much killed Ace Whistler at the match. Dog, shut up. I'm doing a great interview here. Doing a great intro. You shush. He is known as the self-supremacy and now the champion of America, Everett Crede. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really good. That was a hell of an introduction. That was probably the best introduction I ever got. That was really good. The dog may beg to differ. Maybe he's a Whistler fan.
Yeah, he's an Ace Whistler. He's an Ace Whistler boy.
I just wish Josh's mic wasn't so bassy. I didn't turn down my earphones for that.
The dog barking is his way of showing his devil horns.
Yeah, bro.
That's him booing.
Yeah.
How's it going, guys? Good to be here.
Hey, it's been good. Yeah, how are you doing? How is it being the champion of America right now?
Well, it's pretty good. I mean, I never thought, you know, as soon as I became the champion of America, it's like America right now is just going through so much, you know, with this whole tragic situation with you know, with the George Floyd matter, and it's just like, and then COVID-19, everything is just kind of really, it's just really bizarre. And it's just like with the COVID situation, it's unfortunate to see like so many lives that are being taken, jobs that are being, you know, temporarily furloughed, like myself. And then with the Floyd situation, it's almost bittersweet, because it's bitter that it had to get to this point, but it's also kind of good that voices are being heard, and racial equality. It's like, you know what, this should have been dealt with, you know, a long time ago. But I'm glad that things are finally starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, this movement, this Black Lives Matter movement, is finally starting to be heard. But as far as the, you know, I guess the story of it all being, you know, champion, I never really had a reign as champion. Every time I've won the title, it's been cut short, whether, you know, whether booking decide to have me lose the title, like, you know, I had to leave the company and, you know, lose at the next show, or if I had someone cash in Money in the Bank 2 minutes after I've won the title. So being champion this time around, it's definitely fresh and it's exciting, and I'm glad it's the United States title because I feel like that's a championship over the years that's been kind of overlooked, to the likes of like a world title or an intercontinental title. So I'm glad that I can bring a new level to that championship.
Yeah, that's the thing with you and titles. Like way back in like TXW, like no matter it's because when I was looking up your title history, it seems like no matter where you go, you like one way or the another, you'll end up either getting the tag belts or the world heavyweight belt.
Yeah, it's so when I first started, in TXW, Canadian guy by the name of Andrew Fine, hit me up and he was interested in tagging. And at first I was like, I was a little skeptical, but then I thought of all like the greats that started in tag team wrestling, not just, in CAW, but in pro too. And I'm like, you know what, we could really make this thing take off. And we ended up winning the tag team titles for a bit. And tag team wrestling is just an art that I feel like it's a lot harder to pull off in CAW because tag team matches aren't as easy to make look good in simulation. But if you put your heart to it, you can really make it work. But you also need a stacked roster to pull it off. And then with the world title, it's like that's everybody's end game. If I mean, Triple H said if you're not in it to be world champion, then you may as well go home. And I'm thinking to myself, well, when I started SWW, I'm like, well, if me and Whistler go for the world title, I know we're going to be one of the bigger rivalries on the show because of the legs that it carries. But I just thought to myself, that would make it where if I use the mid-card title with our feud, it would bring prestige to that championship. So I knew the world title right away was going to get the recognition because it's the most prestigious championship. So when you have two guys that have so many years under their belt, especially the fact that Whistler is probably the most successful United States champion in TXW history, it just kind of added to that point. And I was just really, really excited to start this story out with him.
Especially with his gimmick when he had the title with his president of America, when he was calling people Americans and stuff.
Yeah, he was. I remember like that was after he left Gen Y, and I'm surprised a lot of people still know about the president character because I was kind of like thinking, what if I brought that up, but I wasn't sure because that was on the TXW HD channel, which got removed. But yeah, that was probably when Whistler felt the most free. That was the first time he really felt like he was doing something with his own control. Because a lot of people don't know this, but Shannon, when he ran TXW, actually made the Ace Whistler character, and he was supposed to give it to somebody else before Justin got his hands on him. And the other guy, I don't remember what happened, but he couldn't pull off the part. And then we just, Shannon gave the Whistler character to Justin, and he took it and ran with it. Obviously, Gen Y, and then once he got to the president thing, that's where he started. Justin kind of took the Ace Whistler character and made it his. And you kind of saw like how he was kind of being a troll with it, and the presidency in 2016, which he was trying to run for president. God, how different this country would be if he actually won that. Hold on.
Mate, it'll be back in the 80s, mate.
Yeah, it would be.
80s, 90s.
Really. I mean, to think if we didn't have Trump running this country and we had Whistler running it, man, that would be different. But yeah, it was a good character. It was definitely interesting to see him pull it off. And then Mosley was his vice president, which I thought that was just hilarious.
Yeah, that's the thing that I noticed with SWW, because like when most people like make their own company, they usually put themselves in the world heavyweight title picture. But to see you and Ace Whistler to be like going after the mid card belt, it was like really refreshing to me, and I think it was refreshing to the community as well.
Yeah, so I know where, and it's funny. I was just talking about this with Shannon because he's ran a Fed for a long time with TXW, and he has a lot of legs. And I remember saying to him, like, I don't know about me ever winning the world title again because I Double or Nothing really proved that because I don't. It just looked buddy booked. It looked very coincidental, and I was just kind of like, I if I'm gonna win a world title, I don't want to do it in a show that I run because then it feels like I'm just kind of handing myself the championship. And usually, when most people book shows, like you said, they book themselves to go. Well, booking themselves to go over is one thing because if the storyline calls for it, then you have to have it done. But automatically put yourself in the world title contention, even despite the fact that your character may have the legs to pull it off, it just seems like you got to give the fans what they want. And if they're going to sense some sort of buddy booking or some sort of criticism towards you putting yourself in that position, they're going to make their voices heard. And I didn't want that for me and Whistler because I knew we were not better than the world title, but we were better than I guess the concept of buddy booking. I know if we kind of put ourselves for the U.S. championship instead and kind of use that to elevate that title to mean something for when the next person comes in and takes it, it's our way of telling our story, but also giving back to the next group of stars that are gonna step up and take it.
Yeah, with the when it came to Dead Man's Hand, it was like Donnie Octave versus Garfield Wentworth, and it was like people like that because Wentworth was like in the community for a while already. While Donnie, like I believe he was also in the community for a while as well, but like he just didn't get that good footing to like get his name and presence properly known in the community. So like to see him being like the world title picture in SWW, like right off the bat, it's like really cool to see. It's like you guys are like looking at the younger generation and like putting them over by like going against like some of the vets, if you call Wentworth that. But it was really unfortunate to see Vale come out and bring Rookie in as well. It was, that was not happy when seeing that.
It reminded me of and now you kind of understand the story because Donnie, he never had, like you said, he never had his foot in the door because usually, you got to be a part of a powerhouse for people to really recognize you, whether it's, FAM, TXW, Valor, CC, something where it's like, oh, you see like a big player in there. You see like, oh, there's a Ron Buster, a Shannon Silvera, an Everett Crede, an Ashba, Maxwell Verdi. You look at the bigger names, and once you see someone in there that sort of magnitude, it's like, okay, I could really take this opportunity. And that's why Desmond Cruz, I feel like he had such a big opening, and when he came out On the Verge, it was such a warm welcome because he's been a part of those Unite. He's been a part of those powerhouses. And Donnie, he's a great mindset for the business, and he's really smart when it comes to character development. I mean, just look what he does with Stuffins and Donnie Octave, but he never had that foot in the door yet. So I really wanted to give him a shot. But it's funny because Donnie wasn't even originally supposed to be in the elimination chase. A lot of people don't know this, but Shogun, we were kind of on our way to make Shogun win that elimination chase, and he was going to win the title. But I know, some things were coming up, and he was engaged and had a kid, so he really wanted to focus on some things, and I completely understood. He was really good about it, and I'm like, okay, well, we need to come up with a plan B. As I'm doing this, I'm actually in the car looking for a new apartment, so it's kind of like everything was happening at once. And then I'm like, all right, what if we turn Donnie babyface, because it's going to be tough to be. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for Donnie to be a heel when you got so many powerhouse heels already on the show. You already got Creed,
Yeah.
Silvera, Lips, Rookie. There's a lot of just those four alone. Like, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to stand out as a heel, where with the babyface side, you got Whistler, you got Strider now, and it's almost like, or I was talking about it, I'm like, someone's got to kind of push their way to get there, and Donnie did it. He did a great job. And when you mentioned Vale coming out and then giving it to Rookie, now we're planting the seeds, because it's like everybody hated it, and that's what I wanted, because Rookie is such an attractive character, and it's almost hard to hate him, because it's like you see how much devotion Jordan has put into the Rookie character, and she's so much more invested into Rookie than she has been for any character she's made, whether it be Jacoby Vengeance, whether it be Damon Vale, or even in some ways Ashba. And I see her really sinking her teeth for the first time ever, because it's like, I'm letting her do what she wants to do with her character. But at the same time, my job is to make people hate her character. So it reminded me of SummerSlam 2013, when Daniel Bryan finally got his moment, finally got just a taste, a sample of being world champion. And just like that, it was taken away.
Yeah.
And now people want to see Donnie win even more. People want to see Rookie lose even more. It just tells we're just telling the first part of a really good story that is going to eventually unfold.
That's the thing with Rookie that you mentioned, like he's so loved, but you're trying to make people hate him. It reminds me a lot like The Miz. Like he's so good at being bad, but you have to respect that he's really good in the ring as well. Like, my man did not get injured for like 6 months, 7 months. The only time that he's out of the ring was when he's shooting a movie or something.
Yeah, Miz is one of those guys that is safe. He knows how to, work in the ring. And this kind of goes to my BYW days, is knowing how to be safe. And I think I showed you a clip when the safest person I've ever worked that made it look good was a guy by the name of Navon McDonald. I worked him when he was under the character name of Novin. And this, to this day, is probably my favorite stuff I've ever done with the Lips character, because they were just made for that story with those two characters. They were made for each other, because you have two dark, very freaky characters. And usually when it's dark and freaky against dark and freaky, it usually doesn't mix too well. But for some reason, we always hit it off, and we always tore the house down, whether it was our match at Ultimate Redemption, which is like our WrestleMania show, or the Buried Alive match. It was like, man, to work with somebody that can make it look like he is actually killing me out there, but he is so safe. Like, I got hit in the back of the head with a shovel, and it looked like he knocked me out cold.
Nailed you, yeah.
And I didn't even feel it. He has the best big boot in the history of BYW, because it looks like he takes your head off, but you don't feel a thing. And that is so impressive to have a safe, and that brings it back to The Miz. It's amazing to have a safe worker that can also make it look good. And that separates a good wrestler from a great wrestler.
Like, especially with The Miz's like finisher, the Skull Crusher finale, where he has where he's got you in like a full Nelson, and then just slams your whole body like face first onto the mat. But like, no, like, I haven't heard anybody saying that like they got an injury from that or anything like that.
No one. I've never seen Miz put anyone on the shelf. He's definitely he definitely knows how to play it safe, and that's one thing I like about him. And that's I think another reason why I always suggested working with Navon over and over and over again, because we just know it's almost like Batman and the Joker. It's like, it's just a story that just everyone loves to be, everyone loves to see that story be told.
Yeah, right. Lyam, since you've been quiet, do you have any questions? Like, get your voice heard.
I was just enjoying you guys' little conversation here. I was just.
I just realized I was like, hang on, Leon has been talking.
Yeah,
It's just been me.
Yeah, sorry, I'm bad with questions and all that, so I don't really have anything in mind. I'm terrible with sort of stuff, so.
I think you got, I think you could, if Yuri, gave up the spotlight just once and
I love the spotlight.
I
love it.
He's he's pulling a whistler on you. He's making it all about him. He's making it all about him. You
Wait for the roll you up more.
Yeah. Oh, please. Yeah, it's a real roll up.
Yeah, it reminds me of this guy, Yuri K. Hunter. I never liked him anyway.
Speaking of which, I can't help but remember like this little Twitter war that had going back and forth, and
yeah, let's talk about that.
I know that I'm not the one that should be asking questions, but what the hell? Like, I was a fan of you guys, and then all of a sudden you start wrestling, you start repping Whistler's merch, you start, you're originally a heel, and then you're going with this, and I'm like, man, why is this why is this dog barking up this tree? Like, I wasn't sure, but what was your strategy by trying to call me out or something?
That's the thing with Yuri, because if you don't know his story, he's known like bad leadership, so because he's been in the Hunter family, which he's been exiled from like near enough like the first year he was a part of it, because he as he said in like many times, the leaders Ryan and Parker were just fakes, and they were only using the family to put themselves over. So that's when he concocted a plan to have like this war with Parker, which then slowly cast a doubt on the other members of the family, which then eventually everything imploded with the family, and then Yuri and Eamon, Vandy end up going their separate ways and forming a Hunterage. So like the story with the Hunterage is that those three guys have dealt with bad leaders. They've and so they just had enough of it. So they want to have a faction that's all about equals. Everybody's staying their part. Hence why Vandy was part of Ecstasy. So we left, but then he realized Alex King was not a very good leader, so he ended up leaving and joining the Hunterage instead. And then that story in SWW happened. So
yeah, the story with this guy just continues. Probably with Yuri is he just hates everybody equally.
He's just like, leader, nah, don't like you now. That's the thing. Like, I think, like since Hunterage has been in SWW, like the commentators, Jack and my boy Nathan Scott, they've been comparing the Hunterage to like a young version of Gen Y. Like a lot, which is really weird.
Is that what he calls it? So I'm just going to take as many pot shots at Yuri as possible, because that's...
Okay. All right, so I lost you for a quick second there. I'm on my phone right now because my stupid internet at the house is kind of going on and off, so I'm just coming now from the phone.
That's fine. I understand that. I get that a lot as well.
Yeah.
That's why I'm in my kitchen.
Yeah, it's been slowing up production a little bit too, because I'm kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Like, sometimes it'll come in and out. I had a feeling it was going to do that here, so I kind of, concocted a backup plan.
Yeah.
And then if it comes back on, I'll switch back to the computer.
Dog is back. Dog is back. Hey.
Yeah, that's it. He's cutting the shit on you right now.
He doesn't like me talking trash about Gen Y and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a Gen Y boy right here.
Don't you regret recording in the kitchen now?
Yeah. There's the only good internet connection here, so.
Oh yeah, I feel you. I feel you on that one.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Like I said, definitely a different time now, because with CAW, it's like when I've done a lot over the past. How long have I been here now? About 10 years. So it's
whole decade.
Damn.
Yeah, I hit a decade back in like January, because that's when I got into TXW was back in 2010, and I saw the main event of Final Testimony between Shannon Silvera, at the time he was Shannon X, against Jack Strider in a Hell in a Cell match for the title. It caught my attention, because it was like, man, these are guys that look realistic. They're putting on a good match, tells a story behind it, and it just kind of got me really into it. I remember saying, like, I don't know how, but next testimony, I'm gonna be in the ring with these two, and how that played out is beyond me. But I asked to join, and Solus at the time was the I don't know what you want to call him, recruiter, talent relations, whatever. He gave me the tryout match. I got my ass kicked, but at least I didn't play cheap. So he gave me the green light, and then the rest was history. The rest was, it's kind of funny, because we were talking for a bit. I was trying to pick his brain, and then Jordan hops in. But this is the first time I ever spoke to her. She hops in and she's talking. I'm like, wait, who was this? And he was like, oh, that's George. She plays Damon Vale and Jacoby Vengeance. I'm like, wait, she plays like, oh, there's a girl. Okay, this is really, I didn't know this was co-ed. That's pretty cool. And I was being like really nice and all that, and just showing respect. If you ever asked Jordan like her first impression of me, she'd probably say that I was a complete kiss ass. But I was like, yeah. But
because she was a girl, right?
better to be a kiss ass than an asshole. So I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, but it was good. Like, it was a good ride coming in. But I've had to adapt and change the Everett Crede character over the years. So when I came back into the dance, and I kind of had some personal stuff going on, so I really wanted to kind of get away from everything and just kind of go back to, I was like, well, man, what could I do? And then I kind of got like the question of, why don't you do your own show? Like Jordan, I think Jordan was the one that said, you should do your own show. This is actually a funny story. So, so I'm kind of like, we're talking about Valor, and because I think it was the episode where Ashba made her return, and it gave me the pull. And anytime that you work, CAW, BYW Pro, you'll get that pull if you haven't done it in a while, and it's like, ooh, I gotta get back into this. And I remember seeing the big like these comments. Oh, did they put me back in the? Am I back here on the computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, it looks like I'm back here. Hang on, let me switch to the headset. Okay, there we go.
The audio,
you can probably hear me.
The audio got really loud all of a sudden.
Yeah, so yeah, it's
my mom just went like, yeah. So anyways, and then you went like this.
Oh, there you go. So this is a funny story. So I'm like, I'm going through a lot of personal stuff because. At that time, I was a few months out from separating from my fiance, and that was the infamous someone at the On the Verge promo. And for those that don't, she had a character too. We did something back in the BYW days in the UWE, and it was a faction that was known as, because her character's name was Angelique Stark, and we were the Stark Supremacy, and it was like a really cool backstory of how you know, like she was kind of like the chief of medical staff, and you know, like it was like this whole really wonky storyline where she was like an intern doctor at a local like psych institution, and then you know she would end up becoming like the head of the, like almost like the warden, if you will. And there was a character that kind of wasn't mentally able to compete, so we kind of took him and put it was this weird, like, it kind of reminded me of Hugo Strange. If you ever played the Arkham games, Arkham City, it reminded me of like Hugo Strange and Ra's al Ghul running Arkham City. And it's kind of like, we're gonna cure the disease, and meanwhile we're just brainwashing them to be our legion of zombies. So unfortunately, you know, I really don't have anything bad to say about her. You know, she was great, and our time together was great, but it didn't work out the way that we wanted to. And I was going through a hard time, she was going through a hard time. She had to do her thing, and I'm trying to figure out what my thing is. And this is where it gets good. Valor does their episode where Ashba comes out and gets a huge pop.
Oh yeah,
and, like that was the pop of the night, and I was like, all right, I got to get into this. And Jordan already knew that Valor was TikTok, because I think Verdi kind of gave up creative control and editing and all that, and I think Poland's had to take over. And just for one person alone, you know, sometimes I can't give anyone heat, especially now trying to do it all on my own. It's no walk in the park, especially to the level of production that Valor had. So that's where I kind of said, you know what, let's, you know, I don't know what to do. Like, I love running creative, but my production value is a little short. And Jordan just gave me the most vote of confidence. And she said, you should do it. You can do it. Like, you can do, if you really put your heart to it, if there's one person that could pull this off, it's you. You know, you need something going on in your life. You need to find a passion again. And I was like, you know what? All right, let's do it. And we started up SWW, and she was already cooking up ideas with Rookie. And I just found out a few days ago. I was talking with her about it. I said, if you never said that. And she said, well, she almost pulled a Roger on me with when Roger, it was an episode with Roger and Francine where he's teaching her how to ballroom dance, but then he takes her to like his ex-wife's funeral and he says, Francine, I haven't been completely truthful with you. Like Francine, and every 15 minutes it's like, you know, she thinks Roger's doing a good. Francine, I haven't been entirely truthful with you. And she kind of gave me the, you know, almost like, Everett, I haven't been entirely. And you know, she was like, all right, well, now that everything's off and going, I could say I kind of selfishly pushed you to do it because I've been trying to get my like actual content out there, and I wanted to turn. You were the only person that was going to give me the platform to separate whiskey and have Rookie go out on his own. Like, I kind of had to use you a bit to get myself out there and show my craft.
Oh my god.
I'm like, oh god, of course. I'm like, she is something else, man. She's just like one of the boys in the back. She is
bro, Jordan in the chat, man, like
she's ridiculous. She's a riot. So definitely and
the biggest stand for Stitches too. Like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, big fan of Stitches. She's, if anyone asked me like who was the locker room leader, like almost like that Undertaker role in the locker room, it's her, because she's got the legs, she's loyal, she's been through all the battles, and no matter what, you know, she's always, you know, and she's been the one that has helped me the most getting over, you know, my getting over through my personal stuff with the separation, and she's been very supportive. And so, but it's just when I heard that, I was just laughing, because, you know, sometimes you got to do whatever it takes to get yourself, you know, to get yourself out there. And I really admired that she said that, because it was like, you gotta really dig and find your way to give yourself a platform. And I've done the same thing with Lips. I've done the same thing where everybody would try to book me as Everett Crede on shows, and I'm like, I got another character that might be able to get your attention. And every time I've done that, it paid off magnificently.
Yeah, Lips is Lips is probably like one of the most unique yet creepy characters I've seen since Stitches. Like those two, like I'm so glad those two are having like a storyline in SWW, because like those two are just the perfect match for each other. Because like
yeah. So it's when I first created that character, it was 2013, and I was watching with Brother Cam. I was watching him from Powerpuff Girls, and I just thought, man, what if I could probably do something with this? And the original look of the character was very different. He looked like a demonic elf. I mean, he had the red face paint and the hair and all, but his outfit just kind of looked more like I think I had like a Santa hat on him. It didn't look like Lips now. It looked very elf-like. And then I showed it to Shannon and Jordan, and they said, he looks all right, and he looked okay. But then Jordan said, let me get a hold of him. So I put him up on CC. Jordan takes him, and then we kind of have a match to compare which one looks better. And my Lips comes out first, and I use it was like a different song. It was it was very like a German Gothic chanting song. It looked cool, but it wasn't, exactly what was going to work. And then Jordan brought out her Lips with the teddy, with the onesie outfit, with the fishnet and the lace, and then the boa and the birdcage veil. And Shannon played Manson, I Don't Like the Drugs on the headset, and I'm like, sold. Like that's Lips. And it just worked, and that character has evolved throughout the years. And in 2019, I really had to bring it, and then I did it. It was so good that I wanted to do it in Backyard Wrestling, and it became an even bigger hit. But now I was like, with it back in CAW, I can do a whole bunch of things that I could never do in the yard. But I wanted to also update the character, make him look different. If you saw how he looked at On the Verge, compared to how he looked at Dead Man's Hand, you could see the transformation. And you see he's growing his hair out a little bit. You could see Jordan helped me recreate the look of Lips. And you could kind of see his attire look similar to something that Ashba would wear. And it just looked really good. And I like the heart with the mesh on the inside, and he's got like a little heart mesh on the like, I think it's like the right butt cheek, and it looked really good. I remember she was putting the logos on the character, and there was it's like a heart with like like red spandex on the latex, I should say, on the inner layer, and then the inner layer is kind of like the mesh, like the fishnet. And I'm like, before I even said put it on the butt cheek, she already did it. Like, we have the same mindset with that character. She made him look better than ever, and I love the whole flirty, like the androgynous mentality that he has, using the homoerotic mind games to get in the head of his opponents. And you're going to see how that plays out when he faces Garfield on the next episode of Live. But then with Stitches, it's like, I could have set this up for a future date, but I'm like, you know what? Let's do it now while it's still fresh. And he's been incredible to work with. And you're going to soon see how this back and forth psychological warfare really plays out between those two characters. And we're milking it. We're milking this story, and it's just anticipation. Like, you don't see Freddy and Jason take off until like halfway through the movie. So I really wanted to milk this story between the Lawn Daddy and the Freak Show.
Yeah, and it's been like 2 live spectaculars now, and they've only they faced off at each other at like On the Verge, and then at Dead Man's Hand, that's when like Lips did like the first strike,
Yeah, think of that. Like, that's how long it took for them to even put their hands on one another. And Lips struck first. Lips hit Stitches with the BDS hymn, which is another finisher that has a play on words. Shannon, I got to give him credit. He always comes up with interesting names for the moves. The Little Death was his idea too. And Little Death is like a term, le petit mort, which means state of unconsciousness or death after orgasm, which like how
okay.
Yeah, that's the Little Death. That's actually like what a little death is you actually get such a good state from it, you actually, your body like fades to black, like you faint. So that's what a little death is. And then my Angelique Stark, she came up with the term ivory tempura, which means battered, like fried and battered pale skin, because shrimp tempura. So ivory is like, lips of skin tone. So it's like another twisted play on words. And then obviously Shannon came up with the newest one, the BDS hymn, and you saw how Lips used that move more so psychologically than physically, because he hit him with the move, but then he kept him in that position, kept his face in his junk, and it was really, really sick and twisted. But that's Lips, man. He's the mistress of the mind game, and that's what makes him so different.
That's the thing that was also pretty different to see as well, because like when people do like that surprise finisher attack thing, like they, because like with the moves that they have, the only thing that they can do is like hit the move and then just do that long stare down in that unconscious body, or like if they just have a submission, then it's just like it's just a submission move. But with that move is like a dude buster, right? So like you can just hit the move and then you can do the standing, but because of this like pinning animation, it looks so much more like I don't know how to describe it.
It's like an insult to injury.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. And then I remember a couple years ago, because now Lips' theme song changed, because as good as Manson was, the lyrics didn't really fit Lips, because that song was more about facing, like, more so about drugs, and Lips wasn't really, based off of that. So I was in college one day, and I was, I was in middle of class, and Whistler hits me up, and he says, I found Lips' theme. And for him to say that, I knew he found something that was going to work. And because I wasn't giving up Manson easily. And he sends me FAG by Mr. Strange. And I remember before my class started, I heard like the first 30 seconds of the song before she said, okay, close out the, turn off your music, open your textbooks, blah, blah, blah. And then I heard the lyrics. The only thing I heard out of the song was the first 30 seconds, and the last thing I heard was, I may not be human in your eyes. Automatically, I knew I didn't have to listen to any much more. I knew that was the song, because that song fits that character so well, because in Lips' mindset, he is just a regular homosexual guy. But because of his backstory that people know from the, if you know the backyard side of it, you're going to know Lips' backstory. I want to bring that into CAW when the time is right.
Yeah.
But it's so twisted with why he wears what he wears and why he is what he is. But it's almost kind of like, if he looks in the mirror, he's going to see himself as a regular guy. We see him as the devil, and we see him as the freak show. And it's like, I may not be human in your eyes, but I'm just like you. And but it's him saying it. So it's kind of like he takes that and he takes something that is accepted, that is, so thankfully nowadays is accepted in life, but he takes it and twists it, because when Goldust did that kind of stuff back in 1996, it was controversial. Homosexuality wasn't as accepted as it is now. And for me, that was a challenge, because I have to take something that not only is accepted nowadays, but it's welcomed. and I have to take it and twist it into something to where it's like, man, this guy is sick. Like, this guy is an absolute freak show. And it's been a challenge, but that's why I created the character. I created it because in 2013, I was so burnt with Everett Crede because the TXW HD channel got taken down. I worked my best storyline with Shannon on that channel, and it got, because of some stuff going on internally in TXW, and I was just so upset because I'm like, I just put everything into, the story that I had with Shannon into something that was only on that channel. Now I got to start from the bottom up again. And I just got fried with Crede. And not to mention, I'm kind of like, what's next? Like, I don't know what story to tell. I haven't found what I wanted with the Everett Crede character at the time. So I really put my focus into Lips. And I haven't really put, even in the backyard stuff, I never really put as much focus into Everett Crede as I did with Lips. Maybe up until 2018 when I started doing the Stark Supremacy, because I finally found the basis of the character. Here is a guy that is a complete addict to coming to power. He's addicted to power, and he wants that control over other people. He wants those legion of zombies. And then when I did SWW, I knew I couldn't do the same thing. I couldn't be a nostalgia act. I knew I had to do something different. And that's why I've been doing more so a sarcastic showman style to Everett Crede. He comes out saying that he's going to be the champion of America, impersonating his opponents. And I think the biggest thing I've done since I've came back is me impersonating Whistler. Like, if there's one thing that I've heard over and over again since I've really have done, come back to the community, it's the classic, I'm Ace Whistler and I'm a rock star. That's the one I hear the most. And
yeah, especially with Deshaun Walton, because he loves to bring that up whenever he's on the mic. Like, he did it at a live show. He then did it at eFed Mania, I believe.
He did, and I laughed now he really took a shot. He really didn't shoot, and I remember him telling me, like, he's gonna shoot about some things that are controversial.
My God, this.
I bet he did it.
Like, that was. And I said, like, look, that's your show. I have no creative control over what you say, so that's all on you. Whether you get support, whether you get heat, that's all on you. And he said some things that I was like, all right, I mean, you definitely put your case out there. My only gripe with it was you made it so much about the shoot that I don't want that being taken away from your show. I don't want it to be where the only thing, I kind of wish that he took that shoot and made it its own video, because I don't want it to be where that takes away from the actual show. That's why you're never going to see, like, I remember, like, Shannon wanted to do a shoot in character, like almost like a work shoot, saying like you've all given up on me, something that Shannon Silvera would say. And I'm like, and I just said, no, you don't want to do that, because honestly, that's what people are going to expect. You got to actually be the one person that goes with the work. If anyone needs to do a shoot, it has to be somebody that you'd expect it from the least. And right now, I don't see anyone where they could pull it off yet. If anyone, maybe Jordan, I could see getting away with doing a shoot, but it's like, it's like you're the world champion now, so it's like, you can't.
Yeah, like, what's the point?
Exactly. So, but yeah, no, that was a very controversial, and it was, but I still remember, like, him mentioning names, and then he mentioned Whistler, and he did the my voice of impersonating. Yeah, like, because when I impersonate somebody, I take something that they have that makes them unique. Like, Whistler's voice is a little nasally, and I amped it up like about 100%, and I just said, all right, he's got this voice that's a little bit nasally, but I'm going to make him sound like Fran Drescher. And that was, the rest is history. I remember it all started over a Snapchat, because we had like a group chat, and I did there was the filter with the blonde hair and the aviator glasses, and it looked like a rock star. And I remember I put it on, and I said, like, hi guys, I'm Ace Whistler and I'm a rock star. And I was trying to wonder what I was going to do on the next episode of Adrenaline. And then it hit me. I'm like, what if I impersonated him? Like, what if I actually came out wearing what he wears, and we'll make it sound like he's going to be the one that talks next? And it took off. It really did. And now every time Whistler gets brought up, there's that little bit of cargo. There's that little bit of baggage that comes with it, because everybody's going to say, here comes the rock star. And it just, it caught off. It caught on really well. And I'm very happy that it did. This is the most fun I've ever had playing Everett Crede, because I've never added so much of me in real life to the character. It's always been a more arrogant, narcissistic, aggressive character. But since we already have like Silvera, Rookie, there's already that serious
and like
aggressive side.
Yeah, and like
Everybody's
everyone else in the yeah.
So I wanted to do something different, and I almost wanted to be almost kind of like I don't know what you want to say. I don't know how you would describe Everett Crede now. Maybe a troll, maybe just something completely different, something unlike anything I've ever done before. And it's been a lot of fun.
I think it's definitely the best way to describe him, as a troll nowadays.
Yeah. Like even like when I did the Matt Hardy cameo, like it was like with the, what do you call that? The cameo, right? So
it's cameo.
everybody was getting heated a little bit about it, and I was just trolling. I was like, I did like and that's the thing, like even when I get some heat on Twitter, I'm just a troll. And I remember the one thing that gave me the most heat was I said Okada was overrated, and I just got blasted. And just, like so many people came at me, and
you insult my favorite wrestler.
Yeah. And I just trolled. I trolled anyone that comes at me, whether it's like kayfabe heat, real heat, whatever it is. I'm just Everett Crede on Twitter, and I troll it. I completely, that's because that's what the Everett Crede character is gonna do, and that's what you got to do. You got to have fun with anything that comes your way, especially in CAW, because that's what it's all about. It's about having fun. And when I created SWW, there was already so much drama going on with all different promotions and feds. Everything was closing down, and that's where I just said, you know what? Let me bring back something to make it fun again. Let's give people the opportunity to be themselves, their own interpretation with the character, and make it about creative freedom. If you get over, it's on you. If you come up short, it's on you. So it's been fun. It's been really fun doing SWW.
Yeah, because like when you first announced I was coming back, I'm pretty sure like the floodgates just opened right there. Like everybody was rushing to your DMs and being like, "Yo, can I join? Can I join?"
Yeah.
I remember a whole bunch of people. Like I just started up, and I'm like, "All right, we'll take whoever we can." 15 minutes later, the roster's full, and I'm like, "Holy hell!" And it got to the point where I had to start saying like, our roster's full, and it's like it was weird. It's like when a comedian says he's going on tour overseas, and it's like, all right, we'll wait about a couple weeks before we get like enough ticket sales to do it, and 4 minutes later, Ridiculous just called and it's sold out in 4 minutes. It's like AEW, and it's like holy hell, like this really clicked, and it got off so quickly. And I remember in August, this is, like obviously Whistler and Jordan came in, and then August, Jordan went through something in real life, and similar to what I went through. And she was really going through a hard time, and I just said, you know what? Do you want me to come down there? And she really, she didn't think I would do that. So I drove down 9 hours, and we just kind of, we met up. We met up and I took her to my hotel room, and we just talked. We just, we talked. We just kind of vented how we just feel like we just kind of, for the past 2 years, we had something we both tried to put investment into, and it was all almost kind of like to end up here, not for nothing, but like because we've learned from our experiences, but it made us both realize like we gained back somebody. Like, you know, she gained a brother back, I gained a sister back. And I remember when I posted like that I was with her, and like everybody knew how close we were, people actually started creating a conspiracy theory that we were actually dating. And it was, I had to shut that down real quick, because I'm like, oh no, like, you know, I didn't want people getting the wrong idea. But it was like we still are, we're very, very close. And then I remember Shannon got word that we were down, and I haven't spoken to him in a long time, probably a couple of years at that point. And he's got a lot of good stuff going on. He went through a bad separation a couple of years before, and now he's married. And I remember meeting him and his fiance at the time, now wife. I went to his place, and she is amazing. And then I started showing him SWW clips. And I'm like, no one, no controversy. It's all for fun, kind of like TXW. And he starts seeing the build-up videos. And I see the look in his eye. And I'm like, I just don't know commentary. And I see this, like, his eyes get, like, really big when he looks at me like that. And I'm like, you got the pull, don't you? And I was like, you got the pull. And I'm like, and I looked at Jordan.
Fire in him, did you?
I lit a fire in him. And Jordan kind of gave, was like, you know what? I think he was meant to come back. And I said, you know what? Let's and because he really played a big part in getting me back on track. So the least I can do is bring him back. And honestly, it was a big part of his life. I didn't want him going out the way he did. So what was supposed to be a moment of closure turned out to be a whole new beginning for him. On the Verge happened. I kept it down low, because I really wanted it to be a surprise.
And boy, was it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a reaction, all right. It was and for the right reasons, the support and the criticism. And I remember telling Shannon, like, I was gone by the time you tried. Actually, when he made his screw up, it wasn't too long after me and him had a falling out with CCE, and he had a lot of growing up to do. And he did, because years went by, and I think he kind of had the Shawn Michaels story. It's kind of like
he lost his smile.
No, it wasn't even the smile, but it's like the person beforehand was so. Instead of finding God, he found this girl, and his wife, and she really changed him, and he's a completely different person from where I left off with CCE. And it was like he really changed, and he really kind of has grown mature, not only as a person, but as a character, a booking standpoint. And he's had a lot to learn. We have a buddy of ours named Dion Diamond, and he kind of taught him a lot too, and he really kind of changed, and I noticed that, and I was like, wow. And that's where I kind of took my I stuck my neck out for him, because not only because he learned so much, but he welcomed me back in open arms. Because in 2017, when my fiance at the time and I started dating, I kind of ghosted from everybody. And I kind of went off grid, and everybody that I've talked to is like, man, like I what the hell? Like, you disappear, you blocked me on Facebook. And I'm like, I didn't block you on Facebook. I deactivated my Facebook. Like, I've had to I remember one of the UW guys just hit me up a couple weeks ago, and he's cursing me out like, what the F? We did all this stuff for you, and and now you're not even replying. I'm like, dude, I deleted my Facebook. And he's like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. My own family members, I've had this conversation. My cousin thought I blocked her, and I'm like, no, I deactivated my Facebook because I didn't want the paparazzi coming at me asking me what happened. So it was crazy, and I remember leaving Shannon's place, and he just gave me a big hug, and it felt like it was good to get that family back. And it feels like the roar of it's kind of like now the people that didn't know the story now know, and it's like you're either going to support it or you're not going to support it. And I understand both sides, and it's like this is the way it is, and we moved forward, and I just said all right, and we made his character, and the rest is history. But the difference between me running SWW and me running CCE is that with CCE, I had the mindset to run the mindset to create things. And with CCE, it was kind of more so about the outlandish characters like Fruit and the Fresh, Almaka Faiza, Lips, all the characters, Garfield Wentworth, all the characters that we saw. But it was kind of like I couldn't handle the egos in the locker room at the time in CCE. I didn't have enough tenure. I didn't have enough experience. And the UWE in the backyard really helped me get there. And that's how I've been able to experience now, like, okay, I can run a show now. And SWW has been a lot easier and a lot more fun.
Because you was mentioning like pretty much like your family coming back together with SWW, like when that came back, a lot of like of the vets came back, like Jack Strider, Ryan Giovanni, like people that haven't been seen doing Caw, like just suddenly returned when SWW arrived.
Yeah, so what happened there was some of them left because they saw the change in the community, and they saw like, what, this isn't what I originally have done. This isn't what I am used to. And maybe it's because of people that they either didn't get along with. Maybe it's the style of how they did things. Names, certain people have disappeared. And once word got out that I was doing things, and it kind of feels like old TXW again, Strider came into the picture, and Strider and Shannon obviously are, pretty tight. So they, once Strider got word of, like, oh, the grass is green over here, he kind of got the pull too. And I'm like, come on in. Like, like that's another character that I feel deserved a reawakening after everything he did. And obviously Gen Y, and there's a lot of old with the new, and that's the one thing that I always enjoyed, was seeing the old mix in with the new. No one ever saw Strider and Giovanni go at it before, and I'm thinking, man, that would be a different match, and I think that would be a completely different story. It's David and Goliath with its own twist, and I really enjoyed the fact that those names have returned. The one person I wish that would come out of obscurity, out of the abyss, was Solus. That's the one person that I wish would resurface. Keith Mason, like, he would be, if he came around, man, that would be phenomenal. I think that would be amazing if he ever showed his face again.
Yeah, that would be cool as well.
Yeah.
But once again, I'm taking up Liam's spotlight. Liam, do you want to talk again?
Well, I did have something in mind.
What do you got?
It's obviously a lot of the stuff that was on the channel that SWW is on is like, got a lot of views and all that. But I remember once SWW started off, did you expect it to like become just as big as it was because it was like a different name and a different thing and all that? Or
did I expect? No, not at all. I expected this to be one of, like, when I first started up SWW, Unite was still around, Valor was still around. I was thinking this is going to be one of those mid-tier promotions. And then once they started all kind of disappearing, one by one, like each one was going under, I'm like, once Unite went down, I was like, okay, like that was, and FAM, I was like, okay, like I'm gonna strive for something here. And then Valor closed, I'm like, now I'm not looking for mid-tier. I want to be the best. I want to be number one. And I know that I lack certain things, whether it be production value,
Yeah.
whether it be match simulation, but I'm going to use what I do have. I am going to use my advantages to get there. And my advantage is storytelling. I always have been such a strong advocate of telling a story with the characters and developing the characters that you see in those matches. Because you could put on a show with 6 matches on the card in one promo, and yeah, you could do that every 2 weeks. But I need to see a reason to fight. I need to see, okay, this is a good dream match, but why are they fighting? Why are they having this match? And you look at me and Whistler. The story that we told at On the Verge was very, very different from the story that we told at Dead Man's Hand. And you look at the Elimination Chase and how it's almost like the level of prestige to the world title. You look at Giovanni and Strider. You look at Lips and Stitches. Even Silvera and Porter. There's always so many stories that go into Dead Man's Hand, and that's why people wanted to see these matches take place. And that's why me and Whistler got so much traction, because the whole me turning on him at On the Verge and me doing the same thing that I did at Ascension at On the Verge, but then me blaming it on him, me coming out impersonating him, saying I'm a rock star, and then him upping the scale and calling me out for a ladder match and saying that this is the SWW wasn't about everybody else, it was about you, and you don't even care why Gen Y is back. I'm gonna take your faction and I'm gonna give them the equality and the treatment that they deserve, where you use them as your pawns. It just became the story that elevated into something so much more. And that's the one thing that I always want to bring to the table. Look at Jordan's character. Rookie, I told her, I said, give it a year. By the end of season 1 of SWW, Rookie will be more popular than Jacoby Vengeance ever was. And we're not even into the we just passed the second live spectacular with Dead Man's Hand, and people are already talking about Rookie like he is the shit. He is the big deal. And it blew me away with how fast Rookie got traction. I knew the character was going to succeed. I didn't know it was going to get over to the level that it did. And once Jordan started doing promos, because she's not the most confident behind the mic, but what she did at Dead Man's Hand with that promo, that was the best promo she ever did. And you don't always have to, I come out and I'm saying I'm the champion of America, and I get really like all into it. Shannon gets all into him, when he does his promos, and there's no redemption without blood, and he's all loud, and Lips is doing his thing. Oh my, and they're all very outgoing, very outlandish, over the top. She, almost like Undertaker, she is the Undertaker of SWW, because you look at when Undertaker started in the WWE. You had Hogan with doing his like, well, let me tell you something, brother, and Macho Man's doing the ooh yeah Macho, and Ultimate Warrior's doing his thing, and they're all over the top. And Undertaker, he talked very slow, very, very monotone, the macabre look, he like, you almost had to like lean in and kind of hear like what is he saying, like, you're gonna put him in a body bag, worms are gonna eat out his corpse, rest in peace. And Jordan's the same way. Jordan, the way she talks is very soft spoken, very like, after all these years, the ostentatious artistry will be showcased to the world, and the way she even
and the lotus will bloom.
The lotus,
daisies. That line.
The lotus will bloom, the garden of daisies. Like, I'm like, I mean, granted, I did help her out with some of the lines, but then she took them and made it into her own. And it reminded me of Paul Dini writing lines for Mark Hamill's Joker, because the lines were good, but the way she did it was phenomenal. And the way she voices Rookie, oh my God, it's phenomenal. It really is. I'm blown away, because it stands out from every character, and that's the one thing I got to give so much credit to everybody on the show. Everybody stands out. There is no two characters that talk, look, or act the exact same. Everybody is different, and especially on the main event scene, it really is. It's special to have that. It's special to have so many different characters, and it's funny because even the way I practiced that vignette with Rookie and Ashba, the format of that vignette nobody would ever think was actually based off of the Brothers of Destruction. That was based off of,
Oh, really?
it was, no one would figure that out, and it was based off of when Undertaker and Kane cut that promo in the boiler room against DX. And I remember watching it, and you saw like the shots of if you saw the first part where you see Rookie and Ashba walking into the room, that was very similar to when you saw the silhouette of Kane and Undertaker with the hat and the coat walking into the boiler room. And then you see like the shots of from the side, and then the shots up front, and the soft. The format was based off of a little bit of that, and believe it or not, Bray Wyatt's Eater of Worlds promo in the Funhouse match. But nobody would put that together because I'm just taking the filming format of those promos, but putting it to a character that is completely different and completely isolated from anything related to Kane, Bray Wyatt, or The Undertaker, because Rookie and Ashba are so different. And yeah, when you see like a Japanese character, it's, you know, like they're different, they stand out, but the way she does it with Rookie is very, very. He almost looks like a villain on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's like it looks like
I can't relate to that.
Show.
I can.
But he's just so different, and the androgynism to the character, the soft-spoken mindset that he has, but that the look that those characters give to the camera, the music, it was just, that was one of my favorite promos ever done in SWW. I was amazed with the work that Jordan and I did with that one. And then of course the end, the subliminal, you know, like how subliminal, like, you know, we all know what that looked like. So it's like, man, that I remember that happened on the Tune It show, and people were still talking about it later on.
Yeah.
Very well done. I was very, very proud of that. She did a phenomenal job.
It will still crack me up on The Verge when Brother Khan walks past the locker room, looks in, then just goes, "Well, she's got the mic now," and then walks off. That was kill me.
So I think that one started because I was watching some promo, and obviously Ron Simmons came in and did the damn, and I remember I'm thinking, man, what if Cam like walked past and he was just like, damn, and then all of a sudden Cam said, I think I got another line that'll work, and he says, "Well, she's got the mic now." And I was just like, oh my God. And that's the one thing that you don't see as much in CAW is the comedy aspect. And I really wanted to throw that comedy aspect in onto the show because it's always good to get a laugh. You always want to feel so many different, and that was the one thing that On the Verge did so well, was it played with your emotions. Through that show, you have laughed, you have cried, you have marked out, you have been pissed off. You felt every emotion, and that kind of goes with my opening promo with On the Verge. Like, came in as a babyface, but I wanted to tell my story, and I used SWW as a platform to tell my story. Because this was something that I really went through. That was a shoot. I, lost my best friend, my fiance, my rock, because of the circumstances. It was a very, very hard time, the hardest time in my life. and I was contemplating, I was contemplating suicide. It was going through a really tough time in my life, but Whistler and Jordan helped get me back on my feet. And I wanted people to know that they gave me the motivation to do this. They gave me, and then the Disturbed song, A Reason to Fight, reminded me, like, okay, and that's how I came up with the line, A Reason to Fight. And I remember doing that promo in the car, and I was that was the most emotional promo I have ever done in my life. And it was just such raw emotion. And I was tearing up. I was holding it back, but it just came out. And I just spoke from the heart. And I remember the line I said, they gave me a reason to get up, a reason to continue, and I was feeling it. And I just said, like, be the movement. Like, this is not just about me, it's about the world. We need to prevent this. We need to have a reason to fight. And I remember the comments, just like the support. Very, very good stuff. Very emotional. And I remember working Whistler that night, and I remember saying to him, I'm like, I want you to go over, because it's going to tell a different story. Everybody's going to expect me to win because of this speech, and I want you to get that moment, because it'll be better, because now that's your moment. And then I said, after I showed him that promo, and then it hit me. I'm like, I think I know what we want to do. And I said, what's the last thing you'd expect? And he's like, what? And I'm like, at the end of the show, what if I turned heel? And what if you rolled me up? I thought, man, you took this moment from me, and I did it. And it was like, it was just so shocking, because it was like, you knew Creed was going to turn, you knew he was going to, but not that night. That was the night that, I literally, this guy actually saved my life. He was there for me when I was, with my fiance at the time. He was there before, like when we were just getting to know each other. He was there when we were together. He met me and her in real life. He was sleeping in the guest room downstairs. I feel bad for him because he overheard us.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah. He told me that's because I remember we had like a art, because we filmed Redemption that day, which I can't put up because it was just like it just wasn't as good. But she was a little heated at something. I think I was stiffing my opponent, and she wasn't too happy with me. But we made up, and we made up. And then later, that week when he went back home, he said, I'm like, yo, yeah, we made up and all that. And he's like, oh, I know, like, I heard like. I heard that you guys, I overheard you guys, like talking, and you guys made up. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, good. Saves me a story. And I was talking, I'm like, by the way, and I just stopped, and I'm like, wait, you overheard us make talking? And he's like, yeah, I heard you talking. And I'm like, oh man,
Whoops.
I'm like, so I'm gonna guess that's not all you heard. And he's like, nope. He heard some things, and he had to put his earphones in before he went to sleep. Poor guy. But it's such his life.
That's when the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme starts playing in the background.
Yeah. So
only here you'll hear this story, people. You'll get this here.
Yeah, another insider. So then, oh God, how did it go? So then, the heel turn. So I'm like, you were there through before, during, and after. You were the one that kind of has been there and supported me through everything. You helped me get back to where I am. So how much of a shock is it? That same person is the person that I'm going to beat the living crap out of after he beats me in a match. And it was so raw. And I remember one of the comments was, but what you said earlier, ... in a frown face here. I think Mark Woolery put that down. And I was like, that's what I wanted. It's like, this man literally saved your life, and this is your way of thanking him. And you're literally, and I remember saying, history will repeat itself.
And then you showed
you saw how I did the boot to him, just like I did 6 years earlier at Ascension. It was telling a story. It was storytelling at its finest, and it was some of my proudest work. And I love that I did it with him, because we never had the chance to tell a story, have a rivalry in the way that we know we could do it with our own style. It's been some of my favorite thing. This is probably right now my favorite story that I've ever done with Everett Crede is this one with Whistler, because it has so many legs to it, and that's the best part about it. The tenure, the years of them being aligned, adversaries, it just all came to a head at Dead Man's Hand. I was really a fan of how it came out.
Yeah, especially when you almost killed the dude.
So that's another funny story. We do the match, and obviously I got to deck out, and I'm talking about being the champion of America, so I got to take my attire and Americanize it, and really. And I just remember telling Whistler, I remember saying, I want to have me as Uncle Sam as a patch on my jacket, and I gave him the picture. Right now on the Discord, it's actually my little icon avatar with me as Uncle Sam. And it just worked out so well. And then I got my creed and self-supremacy and my Ra's al Ghul demon's head and stars and stripes. My trunks have that tea-stained America flag to it. And then the Titantron and the whole thing. It was just so decked out. And it was just it was storytelling. Everett Crede was he was so dedicated to being the champion of America. And obviously, that line was kind of a twist off of Bandit Keith from the abridged series of Yu-Gi-Oh! When he just kept saying "in America." So I'm like, I wanted to take something with that and turn it and really just use it to my advantage. And now it became that's probably going to end up being a T-shirt, the champion of America. It would be really interesting to see. Maybe like a presidential portrait of myself. Who knows? But so we're doing the match, and Brother Cam is the agent, because we actually had to do a couple different takes because I wasn't liking how the match was coming out. Either we underutilized the ladder, we were trying too hard for ladder spots. Brother Cam is now he works independent, so I wanted to get his take. And we were watching the match, and I'm like, I don't know. He's like, no, that's good. Do that. Okay, you do that. And he was the agent, and it was so good having him do that. And I've known Cam for a long time, so I knew him since high school. So we really are like brothers. So he was really helping me out. And then I think we just did the finisher for finisher, where we did each other's finishing moves. And then I took him off the ladder. I hit my dehumanizer, which was my old finish. And then he took me off the ladder. He hit the Freely's Comet, which was his old finisher. And then he goes up, and I'm like, okay, go for the title. And then I'm like, hold on, I'm starting to come up, and, hit L1, and he lets go. And then I'm like, oh, wait, hold up, go back up again. Get the title. And then instead of hitting the right stick, he hits L1, and he goes to the top of the ladder. And I'm already getting on my feet, and I see him going to the top of the ladder. I'm like, well, you can't jump. You're gonna botch. So I had to go and hit him. I'm hoping, please God, don't make me look stupid. I go to hit him, and his character falls off the ladder, guillotines himself right on the top turnbuckle, and rolls out of the ring. I'm like, oh my God, you died. And he's like, I don't know what. And I'm like, what the? I'm like,
well, I got to keep this now.
I got to keep this now. And I'm like, I had to pause it and get the replays and the highlight reel, the Wile E. Coyote shot and all that. But I'm like, where do we go from here? You can't just get back up and start. So we had to think of something. That's how we did the thing with Vale. But I remember Cam said the line that got me was, well, from here it looked like Whistler was going for some sort of moonsault elbow thingamajig, and it just didn't work out. He was just like, Whistler went for the moonsault elbow thing. And he goes to Whistler, and he's like, now, and he almost pulled the Stephen A. Smith on him. He's like, Whistler, I've known you for a long time. We've been down the road many times together, walked across the beach together. And I love you like a brother, but man, Whistler, what the fuck were you thinking? He was like, I tried to reach, and I'm like, oh God, I'm like, man, you freaking died, and it became the high. I'm like, I know you wanted to be Mick Foley, but this is not, I guess you got your wish.
This is taking a level too far.
That was your Mick Foley spot. And I remember in the comments section as the match went on, like, oh my God, what a fall, did he break his neck? And Jordan put lols, Whistler died. He said, I think she said, hi, I'm Ace Whistler and welcome to Jackass. My favorite one was the one on Twitter where I think Walton put it, where it was the guys were he fell off the ladder, and it was the guys
coffin dance,
running with the coffin with the casket.
That was me. That was me, dude.
That was you. That was you.
Oh yeah.
That one.
It's like breaking news. Ace fucking dies.
Ace, he died that night. I was like, oh my God, and then Baron came, and that's another story because it's Gen Y didn't show up because they were loyal to both Everett Crede and Ace Whistler. Baron didn't show up in Gen Y until after Whistler was already gone. So his loyalty was just to Everett Crede. So how fitting that this character helped me beat Whistler, because Baron has always been my muscle ever since, he came into TXW in 2012, and I helped him beat Silvera, and he's always been my muscle. It worked out to where we brought him back, and he was the reason. Gen Y ended up being the reason I won, but it wasn't the Gen Y member you would think. And that was just another part of the nostalgia of Everett Crede and Gen Y and Ace Whistler, and it's just another part of the story that tied together. It was really it's going to be hard to top that. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
To see how that plays out. But it was Dead Man's Hand got a lot of good, and I knew as the show was going on, I'm like, this is going to be bigger than On the Verge, and it was. I was very proud with how it played out. I definitely enjoyed how the story was told.
Yeah, it's especially with the shark cage match with Eamon and AK, because
I knew you'd
you don't really see that much. Yeah, hey,
it was a unique match,
all right. It was a unique match, all right. You don't see that much.
It's not about you. Matches. It's not about you, all right, but it's about. I'm joking. Go on.
Always. Yep.
Cam
tries to do that.
My show. It's my show. Shut up.
Everybody gets on my ass because if I remember back in UWE, I'd always try to plug lips anytime I could because he was always the unique character. So. I remember Cam would be like, all right, enough, it ain't about lips right now. He's not even in the match, I'm like, buddy, play the mind game with the opponent here. I'm like, but it was always, that's the nature of the beast sometimes.
It's my show. I can plug in whenever I want.
Well, excuse me.
Oh man.
Yeah. But Dead Man's Hand was definitely good, since it had it definitely had a better build up to it, since it actually had the lives and the adrenaline episodes.
It had it had the build to it. It had every match had legs to it because there was a story behind each match, and that's even Rookie and Stuffins. And I knew I wanted that match to jerk the curtain because it was just what a way for the show to open. It was one of the big four matches. Like there wasn't even really a big four matches. There was every match on that show had backing to it. And that was one of the best things about that show. And it wasn't just the matches. There was a lot of segments too that kind of really played into why that show was such a success.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things that I really got a kick out of was, like everything on that show, even Nine's retirement speech, like that was, who would have expected? Because you see, like, you saw Camet on the verge, and then he had the idea of, well, what if I laid low? Like, I'm there, but what if I laid low and just kind of waited for the right time to strike? And he did, and it was definitely a good moment.
Yeah, that definitely a shocker because Nine didn't even get like a word out before Brother Cam comes out.
Yeah, and Nine, I was kind of like, I wasn't sure how I was gonna do it, and then Cam had the idea of, well, what if Nine came out and he was gonna do this thing, and then immediately it played out very well, and then we brought back Manir. It was one of my it was definitely one of my favorite stories told. It's not even told. It's the story is starting to tell itself.
Mm.
But yeah.
Okay, we're back. So I've got my next question. So both you and your other character have had a good amount of matches going around for a good bit now. So if there's anybody you haven't faced yet that you would love to face, who would you throw down with? Who would it be for either of your characters?
Well, for Everett Crede, since I've been, working with I've worked Shannon, I've worked Whistler, I've worked Strider. Even though I worked Jacoby Vengeance, I think it would be really interesting to see an Everett Crede rookie story. I think, especially since we're both heels, I don't know who would be the one to turn, but I think working with Jordan would be really interesting. Out of the upcoming stars for Creed, Donnie obviously comes to mind. The Hunterage would be very interesting, especially with Gen Y, and there's definitely a way that story could be told. Nine, I think, is somebody that would be very interesting for Everett Crede to work as well. And for Lips, I would love to see Lips face Silvera, because it's like, here's the Gate City God, and here's the, it's almost like the Gate City God versus the Devil herself. Like, you see Shannon at his most aggressive, so to see that story be told would be very, very unique. And I feel like, once again, it would be one of my characters that would somehow turn Shannon into a babyface. I think that storyline could be very, very interesting. Or even, for that matter, Lips and Smash would be really cool too. There's a couple of people with Lips, because he's one of those guys that, yeah, he's out there. He's been around for a while, but he hasn't really had the chance to do as much as Everett Crede.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds like a good. Well, let's hope that both of these happen in the future.
Yeah, it would be interesting. We got to see how it all plays out. Because even though, I want it and I would think it would be really cool, you can't force a storyline without it making sense. So it's got to all tie in. So I guess we'll see how it happens.
Yeah. So to end things off, let's play a little thing. I'll throw me and Orly, and we'll throw some names at you, and you can say whatever pops into your head first about them, and we'll just we'll play. We'll have a little fun game at the
Word
end.
association sounds good to me.
So, first up, your thoughts on DH Young.
Somebody that is dedicated, but needed a little help with reinnovating his character. But now that he's got a new look, fresh style, he's got potential. I'll say potential with DH Young. He's definitely good at taking advice. He's good at listening to vets and understanding, like, okay, this is what I got to do to get better, and he's done a very good job at that.
Oh, that's cool. What other names there comes into head? You know what? Cody Hagen.
Big fan. Big fan. Definitely gets definitely gets ribbed a lot on in the locker room chats. But he's a fan. He's kind of like one of those that connects the dots with how Everett Crede and Lips with the backyard. He's one of those guys that gets both sides because obviously the way I was with Everett Crede in the UWE is very different from SWW. Cody Hagen's character is, it's definitely, I think he's got to find what makes him Cody Hagen, what makes him different from everybody else, but he's loyal. And that's the one thing I could say about him. He's loyal and he's a very dedicated person to the show.
What else? What? Alex King.
Competition. When King came in, I knew that I had to step it up with Lips because I got to do whatever I can to make those characters seem different. And I knew that I had to bring it with Lips because King was going to make me bring it, because there was no way that I was going to allow myself to be the second best freak on the show. But I'm not going to book myself to be where I'm going to give them equal opportunities to be booked in the right direction. Like, I'm not going to book one over the other. It's just these characters are going to do what they do best, and whoever gravitates with the audience and attracts the audience more is, I wouldn't say the better, because they're both two very similar but yet very different characters. King has taken something different and made it his own, and that's one thing that I gotta definitely give him credit for.
Awesome. Liam, you got any names to throw at him?
I'm not sure because I'm not sure. Could this account for anybody outside of like SWW or anything as well?
Yeah, you can name anybody.
Oh God.
Any name that comes to mind.
I'm actually not sure. My mind's running at a blank recently. Oh my God.
You can mention people that were in TXW, CC, Valor, FAM, Unite, wherever.
Okay, I guess let's just go with I don't know, Rombuster. I don't know. That's the best I've got.
Rombuster. Rombuster. So that's an interesting one because he got he kind of got a little heat over this whole with the George Floyd situation. So he didn't word things the best there, but as far as the character goes, I mean he's done what he can, but as far as the Rombuster character, he's one of the pioneers. He's one of those guys that, especially with FAM, it's hard to be in CAW and not know who Rombuster is. Definitely has his own style. Reminds me of Macho Man, where it's kind of like, if you hear the voice, you know who it is. You knew when Macho Man talked, you knew you were hearing a Macho Man Randy Savage. When Rombuster talks, you're hearing a Rombuster promo and nothing else.
Awesome.
Yeah, brilliant.
I think I got one more.
Okay.
Stigma.
Innovation, introducing a cinematic style to the business. And ever since, I'll say since the deletion matches, cinematic has been very important in wrestling. So Stigma brought that into CAW, and I really am a fan of how he brought that into whatever he's been doing. I remember seeing him and Verdi go at it, like they had their little showdown on Valor, and he's somebody that really brought in a whole new element to CAW, and that's one of the things I think that might be his legacy, is bringing that part of style to the game.
Awesome. I think that's all good. I think we can wrap things up now.
Yeah.
So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out this podcast or interview, whatever you want to call it. Crede, is there anything that you want to plug?
Well, I mean, obviously the SWW on YT on Twitter, and then Coalition on YouTube. And right now we're in production for our 4th episode of Adrenaline. But if the one I gotta bring up is, because I just kind of made the call to end the UWE with getting the trampoline out of the yard. But if you ever want to know like some more of the backstory of Everett Crede and Lips and how it all began, definitely UWEHD on YouTube and the BYW shows that we have done. You really do see how Everett Crede is different from TXW and CCE, and how he has evolved into what he became in the UWE, and how me in real life is so different, but yet so similar to what I do in the game. And then, of course, you see the evolution of Everett Crede and Lips as well into the UWE. I think it's a part of my career, a part of my life that I always got to look back on and show gratitude for, because if there wasn't a UWE, there wouldn't have been an SWW. I'm really proud of the stuff that I did there and how different my character has been from there to how it is here in SWW. And it's been a hell of a ride. But I have a feeling that I think my BYW career, there's still a little bit more left of it to go. My CAW career, it's just getting started. We have only seen the beginning of Everett Crede, of Lips, and of all of SWW, and the stars that you're going to see, the storytelling product, the character development. It's only just getting started, so be prepared.
Awesome. And since we mentioned Gen Y a couple of times, I also recommend going and checking out the Gen Y Are We Here podcast. If you want a bit more about the history of Gen Y and their like career, is really good watch. Really good show.
Yeah, if you want to get a little bit more of a backstory on like Crede and Silvera and all them and Whistler, TXW chairman, you'll see some old videos like way back in 2010 and 2011, and that's really the beginning, the roots of a lot of the main veterans here, myself, Shannon, Ashba, Strider, Whistler. You see how it all began, and now you're seeing where it is now. So there's a lot of legs, as I've been saying. I think that's what I've been saying a lot of backing up to every story that we've seen so far in SWW, and it's like I said, it's only just getting started.
Awesome. So once again, thank you everybody for listening to this show. Be sure to hit that subscribe, hit that bell, give us the like, all that YouTube good stuff.
Also, just to say as well, if you want us to see if we can try and get anybody else onto this, just put in the comments, or just drop us a message on our Twitters. You'll see them on the screen here, and all the Twitters and also just along the Twitters of everybody's been in here. And yeah, just stay safe throughout all of this weird bullshit that's going on right now.
Yeah, definitely. Stay safe.
Between COVID and the with this whole the police brutality, it's a bizarre time, but stay safe. It's a good thing that voices are being heard, and I'm just we're just starting to hit kind of the beginning of the end of this quarantine thing, which is good. We got to, but like I said, if you're going to go out, mask, just be safe. And I'll see you on the I'll see you on the third episode of SWW Live, and then eventually on the fourth episode of SWW Adrenaline.
Awesome.
Yeah, fantastic. And we'll see you guys for the next video, next stream, next Hunter podcast, whatever you want. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Bye.
Peace, guys.